Hey there, ukulele enthusiasts. Today's video is going to be all about the C minor pentatonic scale and its use for blues improvisation. Now, typically when you've been playing the blues for a while, you get tired of just playing the shuffle there, and you want to do a little bit more of the fancy stuff. And that's where the C minor pentatonic scale comes into play. It is the simplest scale to work with. It has only 5 notes to learn. Those notes are, very simply put, the open C string, open, the 3rd fret on the C string, the 1st fret on the E string, 3rd fret on the E string, 1st fret on the A string, and the 3rd fret on the A string. So what you have is a scale that sounds like this. And down. So I'll count them down and I'll change strings each time. So 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 0, 0, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. Now, just a reminder, that's the 0, the open string on the C string, the 3rd fret on the C string, 1st fret on the E, 3rd fret on the E, 1st fret on the A, and 3rd fret on the A. Now some of you are probably asking, why am I not using the G string? In this particular case on a uke, I have a reentrant string here. Now if you also have a reentrant, you won't want to use it. If, on the other hand, you have a low G, you can continue that scale by adding the 3rd fret on the G string and the open string on the G string. So you would start, this will sound wrong, but it would start, if you're on an ascending wave from low to high, 0 on the G, 3, 0 on the C, 3, 1 on the E, 3, 1 on the A, and 3. So everything is within that first 3 frets. Now, again, for everyone who does not have a high G string, you can use that string. If you have a high G, we're not going to use it, and none of the exercises going forward in this video will be using that string, so it's kind of superfluous. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that was an available option to you. Now, the first thing we're going to do is, we've got our scale, and you're probably wondering, how am I going to use this? So what you need to know are a couple of little tricks and licks. You need to sort of understand how to move around. Now, when you're soloing over a chord, so if I'm playing over the C chord, what I want to do is I want to emphasize my key tones. Now, in the key of C, my key tones correspond to the chords I'm going to play. So I would be looking for the notes C, F, and G. Now, in this scale, C is my 3rd fret on the A string, and my open C string is C. F is the 1st fret on the E string, and G is the 3rd fret on the E string, and of course, if you've got the low G, that's the same note as your reentrant string. Of course, those are the same notes if you have the high G. So if you've got the low G, that's a low G note. So those are your prime tones. Now, how you use that is you go between your root to these primary tones, your root being C, and you create a melody. So for example, we've got our scale that goes like this. So if I wanted to play a melody as the chords are playing along like this, I could do something like this. And this is the lick that will appear below me as I'm doing this. It goes like this. So that's 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. So I've got this little melody going off. Said, hey, don't you wanna go? So just back and forth on those. You've got just a little box you can play in there without making any other changes. Another thing you can do is to use a bend to get a note. So for example, if I know that I want this G note here, I can start 1 fret down on the F sharp, and I can bend it up to the G. You've heard that, I know you have. So if I wanted to use that in a lick, for example, again, back to my box, So instead of, I got bend it up, grab the 3rd fret on the A string, 1st fret, 3rd fret, and back to there. So another lick, which is very similar, uses what's called a hammer-on. We're going to hammer on. We're going to start by picking on our 1st fret of the A string, or the E string, pardon me. And as soon as I strike it, I'm going to hammer down my ring finger on the 3rd fret on the E string. So I'm basically taking that F note, and then I'm forcing it in to play the G by hammering that finger hard. Now, you need to put a lot of pressure into that. If you're too soft or you wait too long, or you don't wait long enough, you kind of lose a little bit of the sound of it. You have to hit that and then hammer on. And with all of these things, I find that it's best if you start from a position of over-exaggeration in your practice. So instead of trying to be subtle with it, which is how you might use it live, you go, make yourself really draw that note out so that you really get a sense of it. And then we can use that in a lick by doing a thing like this. So we're going to hammer on, then we're going to do the 3rd fret on the C string, open, and back to our C on the 3rd fret of the A string. So we got that. It's kind of a fun little lick. And then we've got pull-offs, which is the opposite of a hammer-on. A pull-off is where you start higher up, you strike the note, and you pull off to a lower one. So we can start on that 3rd fret on our A string, pull down to the 1st fret, 3rd fret on the E string, pull down to the 1st fret, so 3rd fret on the C string, pull to the open. So you get this kind of a sound. Ending up again on that 3rd fret of the A string. So you get that sound. That's a neat little trick to move through those. And the idea here is you can use any of these techniques. And with a pentatonic scale, with those 5 notes, you almost can't make a mistake. I mean, when I say almost, I mean you pretty much can't. There's no note that's going to sound wrong. What there is taste. And you'll find that as you go along, you'll find your particular taste showing up in a different way. Now, there's another little trick called a slide. A slide is where you pick a note lower down and you slide up. Now, if we combine that with a pull-off, we get this neat sound. So I'm going to pick a note on the 1st fret of the E string. I'm going to start with my ring finger because I want to end up on the 3rd fret of my E string, and I'm going to slide that note. So I'm going to pick the first one, slide up, and then pull off back to the 1st. So it'll sound like this. Now, if we want to use the lick, use that in a lick, here's a neat little lick we can do, which combines that slide pull-off and then uses our C string, and we come back up to our G note on the first, or our F, pardon me, on the 1st fret of the E string. So it sounds like this. So what I've got is I start by striking that 1st note on the E string, slide up to the 3rd fret, pull off to the 1st fret of the E string, strike the 3rd fret of the C string, and end up back at the 1st fret of the E string. So we get that. And that's a great lick to throw over F. So if I'm playing along the blues, and then it changes to F, it's really kind of a neat thing to reinforce that change. And then, of course, you can combine all sorts of combinations. So here's a neat little combination that does a bit of a scale rung with a slide. So we start with our open fret, 1st fret, 3rd fret. So we got this. And as soon as I get up to that 3rd fret, I pick the 1st fret on the A string. So we got this. So I'm kind of climbing up and climbing down quickly. So it's 0, 1st fret, 3rd fret, 1st fret, 3rd, 1, 3 with a slide up to the 5th, 3, 0. You have that? Let's try it again. 0, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, slide up to 5, 3, 0. And at speed, that'll sound like something like this. You got the blues coming on like this, all of a sudden you go, Sid. And you can do that. You can kind of dig on that. By the way, I'm just using my thumb. You can use a combination of thumb picks, fingers, a straight plectrum downstroke if you want, but all you're really doing is it's single note playing. So there you have it. That's how to use the C minor pentatonic scale and over some changes. What I would suggest is you get a friend of yours and you spend a little time with each of you playing a blues progression and the other one just throwing these licks over top of it. If you don't have any friends, you can sit down with your recorder and you can record yourself playing a 12-bar blues progression and then play that back and solo over it. And find your phrasing. Now, one of the things I will suggest is that you put a little effort into singing a melody or imagining a melody as you try to phrase these things. Because what you want to do is have your melodies match rhythmically. You are not worrying about a note-for-note melody recreation right now. You could, but you're not. That's not the intention. The intention is to interpret the melody in a way that is entertaining. So you'll have your progression going off. Oh, hey, baby, don't you want to go? I said, hey, don't you want to go back to that same old place? That's my sweet home, Chicago. So there you go. Have some fun with that soloing, and we'll see you on the next Tuesday. Hey everyone, thanks for watching my video today, my video tutorial on the C minor pentatonic scale. I want to thank all of my Patreon supporters for their continued support through these programs. Patreon is a subscription-based service where you pay as little as $1 a month for behind-the-scenes content and special features, and it helps me fund videos like this, which will always remain free. Check it out at the link below. You're completely in control, and I'd love you to be part of the family. And we're going to continue doing tutorials like this every second week. So we'll see you in a couple weeks.